This is oppression, you misogynistic pig!
Hello guys, back on the subject, diversity and ethnic minority representation, why it matters in media. Now on the last video I've talked about the cons of forced diversity, and now I'm going to talk about why more diversity should be engaged. As you probably noticed already, these videos are kind of bland and a bit boring, so for the next one I'm gonna try and find a different format to expose my subject, because as of now I'm myself. I'm sleeping on these videos, but for now I'm just going to kind of stick to this topic. Alright, so lack of representation, why it matters. Well, one could say that it's kind of like white Western imperialism, and I'm really not the kind of person that enjoys blaming his short bringings onto other races, and especially white people. I think as a black people have victimized themselves enough, even though at times they're right for the victimization, but this time I would really try to kind of like point the issue here about why exactly the quote associated to that problem, which is white is default, is problematic. So let me first quickly recap some of the key moments of my childhood and my adolescence. I was born in the 90s, by the way, in a foreign country with a predominantly black population. Said country is a victim of white colonialism and imperialism. Of course, like a lot of countries overseas, we're kind of like subjected to American medias, as well as the general standard of beauty imposed by the Western world since our childhood. One of the first animated movies I watched, and that was one of the first movies I watched ever, and we really know how strong animated movies influence children, was Disney's Pocahontas. In Pocahontas, the dark, savage lady was shown as the conquered woman, easily subjugated under the imposing eye of the tall, broad-jawed, fine, aquiline nose, blue eyes, blonde hair, John Smith, and John Smith, the conqueror of the strong and the wealthy British, looking to salvage new land and low-key subdue some of that fine native prime American pussy. He was literally the representation of white imperialism. But a child won't see that. This implicit silent message is being shown to him with attractive characters and captivating images, but he doesn't really realize that just yet. When I was a kid, here's some crazy confession. I was so much in love with Western media as it was imposed on me very early. I wanted to be white, and I was not the only one out there who had that issue. So of course, I remember when I was 5-year-old, I would say to my mom and my sister, "Hey, I want to be white. I want to have blue eye and have some cool American name like Jack or John." Anyway, I think I would have that name after I watched Titanic. But anyway, it never really got better, honestly, later on. As I started reading more and more mangas, comic books, and watching movies, reading novels, I started seeing white characters more like, especially the white man as the good and default choice as a character that I would draw whenever I would draw. Whenever I wanted to make a story, the white man became like the flagship default character I would make, because I thought, hey, he's the one that everybody's gonna like. The white protagonist could be anything, ranging from being a skater, a rocker, a nerd, and it could be completely unstereotyped. Unfortunately, blacks and ethnic characters in my stories were unfortunately relegated to a set of predisposed and pre-planned behaviors and stereotypes. So it's not like black were, the way they used to depict black people back in the 90s, confident, arrogant, muscle mass, tuggish. Asians were the smart nerd and so on. I was really conditioned since childhood to frame specific cultures and ethnicities into a set of stereotypical behaviors. Later on, I kind of learned that a lot of creators and other minorities had the same experience, because it's very easy to subdue the mind of young people with Western imperialism. Unfortunately, this kind of led me to only mostly draw white characters in my sketchbook, and that's kind of like a shame, really. When I look back at my sketchbooks, I'm kind of shameful wow, I couldn't even draw my own people in there. It's kind of really sad when you think about it. This slowly changed when I stumbled upon a show called The Boondocks. You probably know about it or probably heard about it. I'm kind of still a huge fan of that show. When it came out, I was still in my early mid-high school years, and so at that time I was a huge fan of anime, and seeing black characters finally drawn in a slick anime style hooked me. For the first time I could ever see black features and black skin tone as something kind of attractive and positive, well, at least depending on how it was drawn, of course. I wasn't there yet to make, full-blown pro-black art, but it was still a nice step forward towards self-acceptance and love. I was about 15-year-old at that time, so imagine that it took me about 15 years to start drawing black characters. And so later on, I kind of got more involved into black cartoonist online art communities, such as like Divine Art, well, some groups on Divine Art. And we often had this discussion in the chat. I would seldom ask the other black artists, do you think black character would ever get marketable and popular worldwide? And of course, seeing Black Panther today, the answer is kind of yes. But Black Panther was kind of this special thing that happened. But on a long-term basis, I don't think, black movies would hold an international appeal as much as white movies. Let's be honest here. Nonetheless, I kept on drawing black characters and, exploring more and more settings related to people of color. Caribbean settings, West African, Latino, Afro-Latino, African-American settings and backgrounds. So it was really nice having like a broad range and variety of characters and location. It was something I never drew before, and for me it was a huge part of my growing up as an artist. When I got into college, that's when I kind of realized the issue was much more problematic than I ever thought it was. I was the only black guy in my animation class not drawing solely white characters. During a class called character design, we often had like sketching sessions to freely draw characters based on various emotions ordered by our teachers. One student was wandering by my desk looking at my drawings. He then picked up my sketchbook, and after scrolling through the pages, he shouted, "Oh, so you only draw black characters?" I was kind of, angry and very annoyed, frustrated, because I was kind of pissed. Really, what was wrong with drawing black characters? Especially it was not on every page. Why did I even need to explain myself for something like this? Did I go around asking all my schoolmates, "Hey, why aren't you drawing more black characters in your sketchbook?" No, I didn't care about these things. But for me, it was only this one asshole that just came and asked me, "Why are you drawing just black characters?" That was really stupid. Once we had to draw environments and background inspired by real settings, and I kind of proposed some Afro-Latino, historical event that happened from Dominican Republic as well as Haiti. I proposed some Brazilian, black Brazilian setting, and unfortunately, anything that wasn't tied to European culture were probably too foreign or exotic for that class. When I think about it, this class was a really poor excuse for people who call themselves artists. In my opinion, you're an artist, so basically you're really supposed to have that drive to draw and depict the unknown, the foreign, and the things that are out of your comfort zone. More example of the white is default mentality. When the first trailer of the Hunger Games came out, people were really mad that the little Rue, one of the characters of the movie, was cast as a black character, despite the fact that there were no actual info about her race in the book as far as I know, personally at least. So most people would probably then imagine her as a white little girl in the book, but when they depicted her as a black girl in the movie, people were really angry for some reason. Even worse, remember when the first teaser of The Force Awakens came out showing a troubled Finn walking the desert? Well, some Star Wars fans were angry that some black characters were shown at the forefront of the trailer. So Star Wars can display all sort of aliens and creatures, but black people are forbidden? I mean, that was definitely a real bias against diversity. In this particular case, it definitely stems from racism. Another issue with the white is default thing is the whole beauty standard issue we always complain about. Due to worldwide European colonialism, white imperialism, and media monopoly, the idea that white features or European Caucasian features are the fairest and most desirable, it's kind of like embedded into modern minds in a lot of countries. Due to worldwide European colonialism, white imperialism, and media monopoly, we embed into modern minds, and especially into younger minds, that European features are the fairest and most desirable. This results often in a very self-hating process, especially amongst young girls, sometimes young boys, because they cannot see the beauty in their own genetic features. So of course, we always had, hair straightening, skin bleaching, eye unslanting, nose surgery. This thing never stops. The hive mentality that every girl displayed on screen should have fair skin, long silky hair, and Caucasian feature is really harmful. And remember that Western media, especially American media, is exported massively to every corner of the world. So children of all colors and all race watch it. So this should be really taken into account. It's not just about white people at this point. So what can we do to propose and solve this problem? We have heard the two sides of the issue here. Is there anything we could do to satisfy both point of view? Maybe minorities should and could create their own media. It kind of sounds stupid because they're already doing it, but it's never on the same scale as those Hollywood movies. One day I had a discussion with my sister. We're watching Tangled, and she said, I really wish they would go make more black princess. And I kind of like told her that, well, I don't think it's Disney's job to making black princess. I think it's black people's job to be making black princess. And she disagreed because she said, oh no, they have the artists to do it. We don't have the black artists to do it. Well, I'm like, well, what stops black men and women to be artists and create their own princess? Why do we always have to go and ask white Disney to make princess for us? If we made our own princess, well, maybe there would be no backlash like what happened with Tiana, and maybe then, we would be satisfied with our own princess and we'd be kind of independent. I was having to ask white people to make characters that looks like us. Always having to ask white people to make characters that look like us kind of puts us in a victim, unable to do anything, handicapped state. It's our job to unite ourselves and go into less familiar fields such as movie and animation or whatever media that is not music or sport, and dominate it with our own stuff. When I say dominate, I'm talking dominate for black people. Remember, I was one of the only black artists in my class. So what hinders black people to go into art, filmmaking, animation schools? Force feeding ourselves into white media always leave that gutting feeling that we're trying to be validated by the white man in general. That's my feeling though. I think there's no one better than minorities to represent themselves better in their own cultural settings. There's a lot of free platform today, and so we should be able to do it.